Good morning, everybody. I like this double-handed hello, Sandra. Hi, Katrin. It's good to see you again. All right. Good morning. Let me see your pretty faces so I can see who I'm talking to. All right. There we go. All right. Good job, everyone. Welcome back to class 3. We only have 9 more left. Um, and as I said last end of the second class, and welcome to, it's wonderful to see all of you. Like it's this the fact that you're still coming back. I'm very happy. you know, I spent all last 2 days primarily thinking about this class. And and I was reviewing a lot of material. There's a great class that was given back in Los Angeles in 2010. I'll share the link with you a little bit later. That goes deeper into what we're going to talk about today. But it's a journey and it's a trip. And it's in this class. If you get this class, if you understand what's going on here, this is the key to unlock how to see emptiness directly. And this is the primary study. This is the primary reason why we study the logic schools. This is the primary reason why we study these details in such depth. And some of it doesn't seem relevant. Some of it's just like, why are we doing this? And I had the same question last night. At the very end of class, there's a whole discussion on a group of dissimilar cases. And God, I hope translators, you studied in this class beforehand. um, and there's a comment that's made that if you can understand a group of dissimilar cases, the things that are not they aren't what you're talking about, everything that's not what you're talking about. Because in the second school, the way they say that you perceive something, like a coffee cup, in this case, it's an orange juice cup because I don't have time to make coffee. So it's close enough. So this mug, right? This mug, which has some Jason Kappa quotes on it. And thoughts and winds riding in tandem, right? So when you look at this object, you look at this thing, the second school says you go through everything in your mind that it's not to arrive at what it is. So your mind sees some parts here, it sees some indicators, right? And then your mind goes, not a banana, not a cell phone, not a cat. Cancel, 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 cancel. Very quickly, instantaneously, cancels everything that it's not. And then you arrive at the thing that it is, which is a mug or coffee cup. All right. And so there's this section at the very end of class where if you're going through some kind of logical proof, there's this idea of things that are not what we're talking about. And somehow that's supposed to help you see emptiness directly. So I was pondering this late at night last night. And then I was like, you know what? Just go to sleep, Tim. You know, maybe your brain will figure it out overnight. Maybe you'll have some dreams about it. And I did. Like it was interesting. I was in these several dreams. I remember I was just walking around looking for things that they weren't. I was kind of in this like mode of like, what if things aren't what we thought they were? Like the coffee cup, right? What are all the things that aren't coffee cup? Well, emptiness isn't the coffee cup. You know, all changing things are not the coffee cup. It is a changing thing, but it's not the coffee cup, right? All changing things includes a much larger set. All knowable things, that doesn't include, that's not included here either. It's a knowable thing, but it's not all knowable things. And I think there's something there, you know. And so after we learn today's class, after we learn all about what is the key to see emptiness directly, the rest of all the classes is to help us understand this class. We get this class, and then we start peeling it apart. And mainly what we're going to talk about today, and it's one of my favorite topics to teach, it's all about mental images. How do mental images function in your, when you look at this object, right? When you look at this, is what you're looking at the coffee cup? And if anyone says yes, you're in the right place because you're wrong. Even if you say no, you're probably still wrong. Okay. Because all of you on Zoom right now are not looking at a coffee cup. You're looking at little pixels on your screen that are certain colors, right? And those pixels are giving you an impression of this object. In fact, you're not even looking at me. You're not even hearing me. I'm being beamed across the world as zeros and ones. I'm turned into zeros and ones. It goes off the satellite there. It goes up the hill and it goes across. Actually, it goes that way down to Phoenix. And then it goes off to the rest of you all nearly instantaneously. And then those ones and zeros are somehow arriving at your computer and turned into, this orangish shirt and some hair and some frame here and a cup, right? But you're not, even if you were sitting in front of the mug and you were sitting right here, you wouldn't be looking at a cup. Well, Tim, yes, I am, because I can put stuff in it and I can drink from it. And then I would say, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about something that does something. I'm not talking about a functional thing, right? Your mental images function very perfectly for you, but you're not looking at a coffee cup. And we're going to talk about why and how. And how does the coffee cup become a coffee cup? And I'm also not saying, just for all of you who are already arguing in your minds, I'm also not saying that everything's in your mind either. Okay. But there's something that's going on that when you look at these indicators, right? Does anyone remember what's on the other side of this coffee cup? Because I showed it to you the first thing purposely, and then I turned it around.
A red dot.
Dang. Okay, you saw a red dot. Okay, someone saw a red dot. Okay, good job. Okay. But do you see the red dot now? Does anyone see the red dot? No. Okay. But even still, like, what is going on here that indicates a coffee cup to you? Even if you're sitting in front of it, what you're seeing a little white here, you're seeing a little like a roundish thing. You're seeing a, I don't know, half of a letter O, right? Maybe, right? And you're seeing some words and things. How does that become a coffee cup for you? You are not perceiving the coffee cup. It's impossible to perceive the entire coffee cup. But you are perceiving it. There's something that's perceiving it because you didn't look at this and go, oh, so look at those colors and shapes. Let me figure out what it is. Not a banana, not a cell phone, not a cat. Oh, it must be a mug. Right? You canceled everything else out. And then somehow it became a perfect mug for you as a mental image in your mind. And then you use it as a coffee cup. And you didn't question it. You didn't go, why do I see a coffee cup? So that's what we're going to talk about today. What is the relationship between these outer, I don't know, let's call them indicators, right? Because your eyeball is not seeing what you think it's seeing. All right. In parentheses, I also thought a lot about how do you teach this same thing to someone who's blind? And I'm not talking about someone who went blind and had eyes that function earlier in life and then later in life didn't work. Like, how would you teach this? Just how could you use the same words? Is anyone here visually impaired, like seriously visually impaired or blind? That would be interesting to know. If you are, you don't have to out yourself either. If you're uncomfortable, you can just put in a private message to me because that'd be really interesting. Then all of a sudden I'm talking gibberish, right? You know, but what is it like? How, like, what's happening? And if you can understand what's happening, and this is what we're going to talk about today, if you could understand the depth of that, that is what unlocks the code of emptiness, to be able to have a perception of something that's not there. To have that perception, you know, it's an absence. And we've talked about this a billion times, but now we're going to get into it. How do you have a perception of something that's an absence? How do you have a perception of a negative thing, a thing that's not there? It's an absence of something not coming from your seeds. So really, this class today, while we're in this like perceptual world, is the most important thing that you could ever hear. And if you're here in this class, we have two more people that need to join, and then we reached 100. So then we can say 3 in a row. Call your friends, just be like, join the class. If you can, this is the difference between life and death. We're there. Good. Yay. 100 people. Good job, everyone. This is the difference between life and death. Today's class. Okay. And it's going to sound not like that. But this is how you change things. If you can crack this code, this is how you can actually change your world. And if you get through this, this is why a tantric paradise is possible. It's not possible any other way. The things in your world that you see are not the things that you're actually there. There isn't anything there the way you thought it was there. So let's go into it. My PowerPoints are extremely detailed today. You're not used to this. Lots of charts, lots of arrows. And translators, it's going to be difficult. So I will try to go slow. And if we don't finish today, it doesn't matter. We can do it next time. And this is a class this class you probably will have to listen to over and over and over and over again. Just to have the kawa, to have the virtue to hear it is incredible, right? Because you're going to get into how is it that how is it that my world becomes my world? How do things become things? How does suffering become suffering? How does all the things that are going wrong in your life become the things that are going wrong in your life? How do all the magical things become magical things? Exactly the same way. There's no difference. And again, translators, please just raise your hand, make some gestures if I'm going too quickly. All right. Are you guys ready for this? Okay. You didn't seem too excited. Oh, I got some. There we go. We got some rocket ships. Thank you, Anastasia. All right. Also, I highly recommend getting out some, you know, if you're going to listen to the class again, it might be better just to listen and get let the sounds flow over you. But if you know that you're a learning type that needs to write it down, write it down. Okay. You need to and draw pictures, take the information and sort it out yourself. This is not something you're going to understand in a day. Well, okay. Typically speaking, people don't understand it in a day. You might have amazing seeds. So I don't want to say no. You might actually be able to. And I think a lot of you are ready to hear all this and ready to sort it out. And this is also going to play into the first class when we talked about only a Buddha can judge something. And if you're not a Buddha, shut your face. That's my direct translation. Because even the things that you think you're perceiving, you're not perceiving. The parts that you put together and create a story are yours. They aren't anybody else's. And the story that you create about somebody else or something that happens based on a few indicators that create a negative emotion for you makes you upset, right? Makes you feel right, makes you feel judged, makes you feel hurt, makes you feel like you need to point out to someone why they're wrong. This class will teach you why even the things that you think that are there may not be there. The story that you're creating for yourself is your story. So next time you get upset about something, you can ask the question, what parts did I just see that created that story for me? And it's valid for you. This is the fun part. It's valid for you. But it may have nothing to do with anything else except you. And it leads us into personal responsibility and it leads us into compassion. All right. So here we go. So we're going to be talking about there's a concept called chi, jedrak. So there's a thing called cheese and a thing called chedraks. All right, and they're together. And Anastasia has clearly been going to Sarani's classes the way she just rejoiced. She's super excited. And we're going to be talking about these in a very, very deep way. And we're going to be talking about these things in not the way that you would typically talk about them. So generally, that's not the right word. Normally, we talk about these two concepts as one as generals, like cheese, like general things, and then specific things, J-drugs. Don't worry, I'll show you the word in a second on that in Tibetan. But think of it this way: cheese are a general. Think about the idea of, I don't know. Okay, everyone, think of in your mind, think of car. Take a moment and think about car. And it doesn't look like anyone's driving right now. If you are driving, you shouldn't be looking at the camera anyway. Take that image. What do you see in your mind? Right? Like, what color is it? What angle are you looking at it? What's the inside like? All right. So you have this idea of a car. Okay. And then that's a general idea. And then there's specifics like your car. Now think of your car or your parents' car or your favorite car that you wish you could afford, but you can't. Okay. All instances, every kind of type of car, a BMW, a Volkswagen, a Chevrolet, an Aston Martin, right? A 1940 Lincoln Zephyr with white walls. Yes. God, white wall tires. Those are the days. You see. Okay, so we're splitting things up into categories. You have a category car, and then you have all the specific cars, right? You have a Lincoln Zephyr, you have a Ford Taurus, you have a BMW X3, right? You have all these different types of cars. So you have a set and then a subset, all right? All the things that belong to car, okay, are cheese, like the concept car, the idea car. And then all the types of cars are the J-drugs. Okay. That's not what we're talking about, but it's important to understand that. Set and subset. The set of things and all the individual items of those things. You can do it for colors. You can do it for cell phones. You can do it for anything. Cats. Think of your idea of cat, right? And then there's 3 cats right over there, right? All right. So that's a chi. So these are two things we have to keep in mind. Cheese as generals, general things, concepts, and J-drugs as individual instances of them. Is everyone with me? Yes. Okay. That's level 1. Okay. And even at that level, you can do a lot with emptiness, but it's not close. It's not close at all. All right, so here we go. What are we going to be on first? Not that slide. All right, so we're going to learn all about the different kinds of cheese first. We're going to learn about all the different kinds of generals. All right. And how they kind of fit together. And we just did pretty quickly the first one. It's called a rikchi. All right. So the second word here is chi. This is what we mean by, this is how it's spelled in Tibetan. Rikchi. All right. What kind of chi is this? And this is what we just talked about. But I'm going to show you a picture now because this is a key to how you understand things. So let's take that idea of car, right? Let's go beyond just general car. Let's go to the idea of carness. Like in English, we do this thing called quotes, like quote, it's not the thing itself. And I don't know how you do it in your language, but we're talking about car. We're not talking about a car, the car, someone's car. We're talking about car, right? And typically, or carness, like the beingness of car that's not a car. It's like something beyond car. And typically, this idea is something that gets implanted in your mind because you saw a car, and then that first car that you saw, probably the car that you were put in as a child, you looked at it and you're like 3 years old and you're pointing and you're like, Mommy, what's that? And mom goes, Oh, that's a car. And you go, Pa? And she says, No, car. And you go, Ka, right? And you start forming this connection between the things that you're seeing and creating the object in your mind, car, right? And mom says, Well, there's four wheels, has two doors, maybe has four doors. You know, it's in this particular shape. There's seat belts inside. When I was a kid, we didn't have seat belts. We did, but no one wore them, right? There's this round thing inside. There's a thing you can push that makes sounds, right? Car, right? And you have this image, car, in your mind. And normally when we think about car, it's that first image that we saw that made a car is the one that we think about quickly. Typically, this is what the Sautrantika school calls it. Okay, this is what they say. So what we need to be changing our language in this is that we have this chi, like carness, right? Carness, car, quote car, is kind of like it's a quality. And that there's different objects in the world that possess that quality. They have that quality, right? And we're not going to call it a specific thing. We're not going to call it an instance of thing. We're going to call it its characteristic of that quality. So you have this quality, a chi, right? You have this chi in your mind. When everyone closed their eyes and they thought car, right? Whatever image you had in your mind in that moment is not a car. It's not the car. It's car. It's carness. Because when you close your eyes and you think about car, is there a car in front of you? No. Good. Okay, we got some shaking heads. Good. There's not a car in front of you, right? And then if you look out, if you go to your garage or you look outside or something like that, then you look out there and your eyeball is scanning around. Like there's a car over there. There's two cars going up the mountain over there. Okay. Those actually, the funny thing is like there's so few indicators of what I just saw going up the mountain, right? And I'm like, oh, those indicators are characteristic of quality car, and that became a car for me. What did I see? I saw one red light, I saw one white light, and I saw the red light kind of like go on brighter and then less. That's what I saw. And I was like, oh, there's two cars. Oh, there's another car. Oh, I see two white dots kind of curving. Oh, now I see a white light and a red light. The red light is moving in the same direction as the white light. It's going down Geshe Michael's road. Okay. But how the hell is that a car? I can't see anything. It's dark. The sun hasn't come up yet, right? What if it's two people who are like we're gonna go fuck with Tim because he's talking about quality and characteristic. One person has a white light, one has a red light, and they're running really fast at equal distance from each other. And like ha 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 ha. And then they're going down the hill like this, right? You know. But I was immediately like, oh, there's a car. So those indicators are characteristic of that quality. And that's very important to use this language. We have a quality car. And then things that are examples of that quality are characteristic of that quality. And this distinction, the way that this is the way your reality is being made for you. And it's also the reason why you're perceiving your reality the way you are. And the reason you're suffering the way you are is also directly related to your understanding of carness and your understanding of the quality car, right? How well you understand those qualities and the things that are characteristic of those qualities will determine the level of suffering that you have. And this is how then can lead you to that next important step of seeing dependent origination, seeing the seed open in your mind and how it becomes the thing and how you confuse the mental image in your mind for the thing out there. Okay. And I think it's also really important. We're going to take a hot second break here. It's really important to understand that this is when you need help. When you're in your meditation and you're doing the 7 preliminaries and you're like, okay, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to imagine the quality that I admire in my teacher. And then I'm going to make offerings, right? And then I tell them one thing that I did that wasn't really all that good. Then I rejoice in something that I did. And then you ask them to teach you. Okay. You like, give me teachings. Yo, bro, give me teachings. Or if you have a more louder, like Tim, just making sure everyone's paying attention. Or you could be like, oh, Holy One, please bestow upon me any minuscule possible understanding I can have of this. However you talk to your teacher. I usually don't say, hey, bro. Although, if you remember the story of Asanga was pretty much like that when he met Maitreya the first time. He was like, bro, where have you been? So, anyway, like you need to collect powerful, powerful karma to get this, and you need to ask for help, you know, and this is why you need a teacher. You need someone who can teach you these things. You need someone who can keep reminding you about this. Oh, you're upset about something that's not there. You took a few indicators and created a whole story that you believe is true. And then you got upset about that story. And then you got offended about that story. And then you felt like you were right and that person was wrong. And then you wrote a long email and then you regretted it, but it was too late. You know, that's why I like Telegram, because you can write a long telegram and be like, ooh, shit. I hope they didn't see that preview. Right. But you're the one that's creating all of those things. And it has nothing to do with the people that are there. Although they are accessories and they seem like they're causes and they are there and they are doing things. And I'm not saying it's all in your mind. However, getting into that space, that's, you know, you need help from a teacher. So that's the answer to question 1, part 1 of the homework. Okay. So this is what we talked about, right? We have this idea car, and then they become instances of cars. A BMW, a Volkswagen, an Audi, right? I chose German cars for some reason today. All right. You have the chi, all right? And then you have 3 different types of actual cars. And by the way, I have to change the slide because these purple ones have to be orange, and you'll see in a minute why. But these 3 down here are instances of those. Okay. All right. All right. Question 1, part 1, done. Great. That's part 1 of what you need to sort out. All right. Part 2. And we're going to call this is called the Dunchi. All right. This is when we're talking directly about mental images. All right. So we're looking at, we have this idea car in our mind. Okay. And this is where things start getting juicy. And then we have outer objects, right? And then we have an eyeball between them. Unless you're interacting with your ears or your touch or your taste or your nose or your thoughts, all of those things, you could replace all senses in here. It's just easier because oftentimes humans are primarily visual beings. All right. So you have some colors and shapes, right? Now look at that outer object on the right-hand side. I want you to understand this. This is a different way of what I said earlier. You're looking at the front of what, and see, the thing is it the front? Remember the question about the poop that Gelsub J asked? Well, that asked the shepherd who turned into Vajrayogini. And he asked the question, when the poop comes out of the cow's butt, which part is the top? When it comes out first, that's the first part. But when it lands on the ground, it becomes the bottom, and back part, the back part of the poop becomes the top of the poop. Right? Okay. This make you question what's the front. Anyhow, just think about it. There's a reason why all this is designed the way it is. So we're looking at some colors and shapes, right? We have some indicators. How do we know that that's a car? How do we know that that's a Volkswagen electric van? Right? On the right-hand side, what are you seeing? Are you seeing doors? Actually, it's very difficult to even see any like perspective on that, right? But you're looking at some colors and shapes, and they go into your eyeball, right? And then you have immediately, I mean, it's almost faster than immediately. Okay. It feels simultaneous. When you open your eye and you scan the room. Okay, everyone, close your eyes. Right? And if your camera off, I'm gonna believe that you're closing your eyes. Okay. And then open your eyes and look around the room and start naming objects in your mind. How fast did that happen? It feels almost simultaneous, right? Open your eye, pillow, cat, piano, cup, right? Sky, car, right? Lamps. Like all of a sudden, you're seeing all the things in the room. And it's the beauty of our mind. I mean, this is beauty. There's an intense beauty to this too. But you're never looking at the complete object out there, right? And then your mind immediately opens up and sees. And then that's why I chose this other picture of mental image, right? You have an image of that car, of that Volkswagen electric wagon. And that image is a perfect image of it. Because you can see all the parts of the car in the image that you can't see in the outer object. Is everyone with me so far? I hope so. You're not looking at a car. Your eyes are only doing colors and shapes. This is why I'm so excited by the fact that I had all these vision problems, and I still do. Because I went to the eye doctor and I went and did all these tests, and they forced me to realize that my eyes were only seeing colors and shapes. Right. And they kind of put me in all these tests, and they were like, they would separate things between the left and the right eye and do all these things. And all of a sudden I was I'm like, I need to go meditate. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I need to go meditate now. I can't like do this eye therapy. Right. Because your eyes aren't seeing anything but colors and shapes. Right. And then your mind is quickly creating, well, it's not the mind that does it, but in your mind, you're seeing those perfect images so fast, so quickly. Z said, it feels like you can identify 1,000 things at once, right? But you're not doing what you think you're doing. And this gets us into what is a dunchi, right? And this gets us to the place of, if you can understand this, this is the step that happens right before you see emptiness directly. The moment when you see dependent origination. Like, for example, you might be, you might be doing something like making tea, maybe making tea for your teacher, right? Or you might be pushing buttons on a machine to change the images on the screen during a ACI production. Doesn't matter what it is. And all of a sudden, you put the water on the stove, you turn on the gas, and you let the water heat up. And then you're like, then you sit back and you're like, why does my llama want something at 5 a.m.? Doesn't he know that I need to sleep? Right. But then you're like, whatever, you're chilling there, you're kind of looking at it. And then you look at it, and all of a sudden you have this moment. It's almost like a glitch in the matrix. And you look at the stove, you look at the pot, and you realize you're only looking at a roundness, maybe a black stick, maybe some height, and then some colors. And then you see that luminous image open up in your mind. And you see how that image pot, the perfect pot, is in your mind. And then you see for the first time directly that that pot that you always thought was on the stove was not the pot on the stove. You catch yourself slowing the process down. Then you catch yourself in this place of, oh my God, that's how pots are made. That's how everything is made. And that's why I can use a pot. But you see the pot open in your mind based on a few indicators sitting out there that you were just making tea for your llama at 5 a.m. Why they make you do weird things at weird times, who knows? Maybe maybe they're asking you to do something that will open a seed that you didn't know that you had. Maybe they respond to you in a certain way, which actually a non-response is also a response, right, Janet? Maybe to trigger something. Maybe they can help you trigger that moment, chuchok, highest dharma, highest reality of this reality. And it has to do with the dunchi. It has to do with that image in your mind. Okay. And to understand this relationship between these two, between the image in your mind and to understand the relationship between the dunchi and the rikchi, chuchok, highest dharma, choke. No, it's highest. You're close. Different choke. the fourth part of the path of preparation. And if you have that direct experience accurately, correctly, completely, there's nothing that can stop you from seeing emptiness directly. It's a trigger. it's an immediate trigger for seeing emptiness directly. Because then after you have that experience, you go give your lama, your teacher, their tea at 5:59 a.m. right before they start working at 6 a.m. I don't know why they start so early. I don't know why they make me do things. But and then you maybe go sit down on your meditation cushion and then you settle into the direct perception of emptiness. All right. And that happens under the influence of a whole bunch of seeds, of service and study and consistent practice and kindness. Right. But if you can understand that relationship, those two things, those two chis, okay, the chi of karnas, right, pot, right, general pot, and things that are qualities characteristic of pot, and then the chedrak of a pot on the stove, right? If I had gotten up just a little bit earlier and thought more about it, and I would have taken all the pots out of my kitchen and I would have put them on the stove and would have walked over and showed you, here's all the different pots, right? And then the relationship of that chi to the dunchi of mental images, the image that's in your mind, the perfect image that couldn't possibly be the pot. All right. If you can understand those relationships and work the relationship between those two and how they relate to the instances, the chedraks, the things that are characteristic of those dunchis, are characteristic of those rikchis. And I'm using the Tibetan on purpose because there's such new concepts to us. It's better to use a new word and not an old word. Because old words bring up dunchis and rikchis that are already established for you. Like if I say the word car, everyone goes, "Oh, it's not like that." But your mind goes car, and then all of a sudden, all these things happen immediately. There's a relationship between the sounds, of course, right? All of these things happen so quickly. It's nice to use a new word and put new concept, put the image together differently with a new word. This is why I love languages, right? Because when you learn a new language, it's just a whole bunch of sounds that sound, you have no idea what the heck they mean. And then you have to create all of these mental images around those sounds and letters or symbols, right? And then you try to connect the old ones to the new ones. And then all of a sudden something happens in your mind and you're like, then you separate those two from each other. And then all of a sudden you're in a total different language. You're functioning totally differently with different dunchis. Okay. What's the dunchi of seeing emptiness directly? Excuse me, let me back up a little bit. What's the dunchi of seeing chucho? The dunchi of seeing parts out there become the pot. Roxana, I know I see you like piling this over in your mind. So this is what we need to pile on together. This is what we need to put together here. Now there's one more chi it's very, very helpful that we're going to talk about. Then we're done with question number 1. Yay. Where did you go? There it is. We have a third type of chi, which is sok chi. Sok means collection. All right. Here are all the parts that make the car. Are all the parts the car? Don't, all of those parts, you put them together, does that create a car? That's what the factory would like you to believe. You take all those parts, you have some machines, you put them all together, screw them in properly. Hopefully, you screwed them in properly and the door doesn't fall off like that one did on an airplane last year. Make sure you put all the screws in, right? Then you have a car, right? Katrin's like, yes, yes, Tim, we have a car then. No, not yet. Yes, no, depending on your point of view. But again, we just, excuse me, we talked about what makes a car a car. It's not the parts. You can put all the parts together and still not have a car. Because if you don't have mental image car, then you don't have a car. Right? Just like if you put a pot on the stove, and you're a roach, and you walk over to the pot on the stove and you see the same parts, right? Does a roach see a pot on the stove? No, of course not. A roach sees possibly a fiery mountain that they must run away from. Otherwise, they will die. They put those collection of parts together and they create a fiery mountain of death. You look at it and go, oh, that's just a hot pot on a stove that's making tea for my teacher. Right? Different mental images, different pot, fiery mountain. What created pot? What created fiery mountain? What karmas, right? And that's where you get what makes you a human is because you see pot or you see pen or you see car. A roach can't see a pen or a pot or a car. A roach sees a heavy object that can smash it. A roach sees a fiery mountain. A roach sees, who knows what they see when they see pen. They maybe see, I don't know, something annoying between them and their food. Who knows? Right? That's what makes you different from a roach. Who's correct? Duh, both of them are correct. Okay. So be very careful when you see things and you think that's what the world is. Right? Be very careful. You don't know. You never know, actually. You don't know what anyone else is seeing for that matter. Okay. Let's see. What's next? All right. How do I want to do this? Okay. If you can take, I just want to review very quickly. If you can understand that relationship of the things that you see in the world to the mental images in your mind, if you can understand what is it when you think of something like car or partner, right? Let's get into some other words. Mother, words that have a lot more loaded emotion than a car, unless you're super attached to your car, right? Or, you know, what do those things mean to you? Right? What does it mean to you to say, oh, my partner? What? What does it mean to you to say, oh, my, you know, or let's use another loaded word, spiritual partner, the word that everyone wants, but they have no idea what it means. They're not sure what they're actually asking for, right? But for them, the word functions because that's the image they have of it in their mind, right? That's the general, right? When we think of mother, right, what do we think about? Right? What are all the qualities of mother? What are the ideal qualities of mother? And in what ways did my mommy not meet those qualities? Right? In what ways were you let down? Right? Well, why were you let down? Or why were you uplifted? Right? And what times were you uplifted with mother? What time and times were you downlifted? That's not a word. You were put down or neglected, right? Why did you feel excluded from something? Oh, you told me I couldn't come to that, but you let somebody else come. Oh, really? You know, I have a friend who like always complains about being excluded and literally self excludes. They do all these things all the time where they're just excluding themselves. Like, what are you doing? Right. But those images in our mind are driving us habitually through the world blindly. If you open your eyes and saw 1,000 different things in your room and identified all of them that quickly, how right are you? How right could you possibly be? In the sense of ultimate right. I'm not talking about valid perception of the cat or the mug or the lamp or the sunrise, right? It's not what I'm talking about. How right are you? And the more right you feel, the more suffering you will have. And it doesn't mean you don't interact with the world that you see. Of course, you do that. And it functions for you. And your car can still run you over. Okay. Your mug still can have orange juice in it. It's totally fine. It's just how it had orange juice in the first place. And you bring those things together and you're like, all right, so I'm perceiving these outer objects. All right, yay. I'm actually only perceiving parts of them. Yes. But I'm functioning with them as though they're wholes. Yes. How did they get that way? Oh, they must be seeing the perfect image of coffee cup in my mind. Great. But if I'm putting the parts together that way, and if I'm putting the parts together this way for a pen versus a chew toy for a dog, why couldn't I have the karma to put things together for a complete, perfected paradise? Why? There's no difference. Now you can understand why 15 years ago, someone came up to you and was like, what's this? And you were like, pen. And they were like, a dog comes to the room and they put a pen in their mouth and like, what's that for a dog? And you were like, chew toy. And they're like, and you were like, yeah. Right? And then they were like, okay, how did we get send pen seeds in our mind? Oh, we do 4 steps. Good. Okay. Now I'm like, now load all of this knowledge in. How did the pen become a pen in the first place? And know that you've been completely wrong about the pen your entire life, including when someone taught you the pen and they said pen and chew toy. You were somehow wrong. And it's a good wrong. It's not a bad wrong, because to have the kawa to understand that this is happening is extraordinary karma. If you understood one thing from today, you should be rejoicing your face off. Okay, you should be rejoicing a lot, because if you can catch that process, then you can change anything. Anything is changeable, because nothing is what what it is. Excuse me. Nothing is what you thought it was. And before we move on, the last question: what is the relationship between the mental image and the parts that you're perceiving out there? What's the relationship between the mental image and the pot? Mental image and this. Are they different things? And I'll propose that maybe they're not different. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But please, if you have nothing better to do today, think about it. Draw pictures. Take my PowerPoint, tear it apart, draw your own pictures. Meditate on it. What's the relationship? What is the relationship between the imaginary image of the Lama that I bring up in my mind in meditation, who's not even sitting there with me, and the real Lama, the real teacher? What's the relationship of thinking about car and the actual car, right? Okay. So when we're talking about that, each of these topics that you've been receiving, all of ACI 1 through 13, and all of the pieces and all the rest of the pieces of this course, try to relate them to seeing emptiness directly. The whole point of all of those things, whether they are completely accurate, whatever accuracy means, right? Because the Buddha taught 4 different schools, right? Maybe your teacher says something to you that you find is in contradiction a year later. Why would you hear the contradiction? What is the point of the contradiction? Right? Then all of a sudden you get a little bit suspicious. Right? You get a little suspicious about it. Like, what were they doing? What were they trying to show me? What did I see from that? What have I learned so far? So each of the pieces that we're putting together is all a puzzle. Really, it's really a puzzle just to have that one experience, Chuchok, highest Dharma, because everything from there falls over, flips over. So that's what the rest of the course is. We're putting the puzzle pieces together. All right. And if you don't understand all the pieces, just throw the pieces on the floor and pick them up later. That's what I do I hate puzzles. I mean, I love them, but they drive me nuts. And my niece loves doing them, and she loves the ones where everything is white. And you're just like, what? How do I do this? She goes, do it. It's like, okay. Right. If you don't get it, it's okay. Just push it on the floor, put it up on a shelf, pick it up later. Can you see me, Tracy? Just like desk flipping. Right. I have desk flipped once, jokingly. And each of these topics that we're going to from here and even before are essential. And there's this cool thing that happens. And some of you, I know some of you've experienced, I've experienced this myself, is that everything you hear from your teacher seems like it's a personal advice to you. Like you're sitting in a room of 300 people and it looks like the teacher is looking directly into your soul and talking to you. And I've been in the room with people on opposite sides of the room who swear during the same comment that the teacher was looking directly at them and talking directly to them. In a normal world, that's impossible. It's impossible that the teacher went like this, right? They did. Is it impossible? I always thought that my teacher had cross eyes and was able to go like this, right? And so to make it look like they were looking at everybody, right? They moved their eyes. And I was like, stop. And I was like, Tim, stop trying. It's not the point. Right? Everything comes to you and it seems like it's directly relevant to you. And if you start having those kinds of experiences, that you understand that these teachers, or the Buddha, for example, didn't didn't mince words, didn't waste words. They're saying things that the Buddha spoke 2,500 years ago, knowing that we would be having this conversation today. It's actually it's not really a conversation. It's more Tim talking to a screen, sort of like a conversation. Nice. Nice. That's how I feel in class. um, okay, Karina, just Chitedrak is Sautantrika. If you study Sautantrika well, it can push you into Prasangika very quickly. All right. That's why the Buddha taught it. All right, so let's talk. You're quite welcome. Let's see here. What are we going to talk about now? What was I doing in this slide? Okay. All right. Now we're gonna go into some other topics here, which I will not finish today, but that's okay. So now we're going to start tearing things a little bit apart to see how they relate to each other in logical, using more of our logical statements. Right. So when we're talking about Chedroks, right? You have a Chedrok of, let's say we have a Chedrok of a coffee cup. Okay. Is working thing a chi of this Chedrok? We're going to start from the things this now in this comment. We're going to flip it now. We're going to go the other side. Now we're going to start on the Chedrok side. This coffee cup, is it a working thing as a chi? All right. All right. I put water pitcher, typical example, but pretend water pitcher is coffee cup. All right. Are working things a chi, a general, a category, a quality, and is coffee cup a characteristic of that quality? Working things. What's a synonym for working things? We learned in
Changing
last class. What'd you say, Laura?
the chat, changing things, working things,
Things.
functional things, the same.
Yes, exactly. Changing things, functioning things, working things. Okay. So our first kind of, oops, sorry. First kind of test here is it a working thing? Is the object a subset or a characteristic of a particular quality? This is a great way to push yourselves into qualities. Okay, so now we went chi way. Now we're going chedrak way. All right. Is a BMW a car? Okay. Chi is car. I look at my BMW and I go, oh, that's a car, right? I look at the Ford and I go, that's car. They're both cars. Their quality is car. Okay. Now that's the first, it's kind of like three tests. This is a good way of putting it. There's three tests to check, right? Is it characteristic of some quality? The second test is to be one is to automatically be the other. All right. So in this example here, to be a coffee cup, is it automatically a working thing? Is it automatically a changing thing? Right. So first test, you can say they're kind of similar, but they're slightly different. You can think about why. The first test is the coffee cup a characteristic of working things? Yes. Cool. Is the coffee cup by virtue of being a coffee cup, just because it's a coffee cup, is it automatically a working thing? Yes. Is it automatically a changing thing? Yes. Is it automatically a functioning thing? Yes. Okay. If there's things in your world are automatically something else by virtue of being it. All right. The third test is, are there other things that belong to that are characteristic of that quality? Are there other things that are considered working things? Well, yes. There's cars, there's water pitchers, there's cats. Okay. Whatever you want to put, anything. There's many things that are subsumed under that set working thing. Okay. So you can kind of go at it in both directions. You can start from the chedraks, the examples that you see in the world, and go backwards. Or you can start from the cheese and go forwards. All right. That one's pretty after now you can see why if I had started with that, you would have been like, what are you talking about? Okay. Right. That was an easier one. Let's see what comes next. Why did I say this? Oh, I know why I said this. Oh, we only 10 minutes. Okay. Okay, so let's take a different kind of example. Can a chedrak, okay, can this so this chedrak becomes a chi, right? Let's go backwards. What is a chi of this chedrak? Did you forget?
Working thing.
Working thing. Okay, right. Working thing or changing. Let's just say working thing, right? The chi of this is working thing. Can a chi be a chedrak of another chi? Can a chi be a chedrak of another chi? Could a working thing, which is a quality, be something that also could be characteristic of another quality? This is why I make my pictures. The answer is yes, but let's find out why. So we got some working things here, right? We have right? Cars, water pitchers, cats, right? See, I changed working thing to orange now. It was purple. This would have been a better slide if it were purple first. It's purple on this slide, okay? But now I made it orange. Is there a chi of this chedrak, this working things? And you guys said yes. How about all knowable things? All right. So let's ask the question. Let's ask the three questions. Is working things a subset or characteristic of all knowable things? Yes or no? All knowable things is a synonym for all existing things. Are working things a subset of all existing things? I hope so. All right. To be a working thing is automatically to be a knowable thing. That's our second test. But if you can't wrap your mind around, well, I'm not sure. And this is a good question. Like, I'm not sure that a working thing and all knowable things are different. Like, what if you're not sure? Then you go, okay, well, the third test is, are there other things in the set of all knowable things? Yes. Like unchanging things. Okay. So what this is doing is training your mind to understand how things fit together so you can understand where you need to take them apart. Let's see. So a chedrak, which was a chi, right? Let's go back here. Working things was the quality. These are characteristic of that quality. That chi could also be a chedrak of some other quality. Who wants to ask the question? The next question. Can all knowable things be a chedrak? And there's a quality of all knowable things. I'll let you think about that one. If you can think about that and figure that out, you might be able to see emptiness directly. That might be another way to push it. Can knowable things which are functioning as a quality, can they be a chedrak of some other quality? Maybe they would have to be. All right. Yay, we're never going to get this class done today, so just relax, Tim. We're going to do something fun for the last question because that wasn't fun enough. Okay. That wasn't fun enough. All right, we're going to go here. let's consider sound. All right. You're going to have to, you may have to think about this for a while. Let's consider sounds in general. All right. Right. They're changing things. Right. And we discussed last time because they're made. Right. And this is sort of like, if you look at this beautiful parabola that I made, with my incredible art skills, right? This starts here at the bottom. This is the sound that's starting. And then it's stopping, right? That's the trajectory of most sounds. They start and they eventually stop. Okay, they're made. And we talked, did I put this in the right order? Hold on. I need to check my PowerPoint before I make the reveal. It's not in the correct order. 3, 2, okay, it is. No, it's not in the correct order. You need to go down. No, I need you to go up here. Sorry, hold on. I'm changing the order of my PowerPoint. Freeform. I need you to move here. There we go. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, here we are. And then we also learned, so we have sound changing thing. We also learned about there's an unchanging quality that all sounds have, which is called its emptiness. And its emptiness is unchanging, right? And I hope you guys thought about this for a while, is that just because it's unchanging doesn't mean that it's permanent. The emptiness comes into existence when the sound starts, and then the emptiness goes out of existence when the sound stops, right? Just like this mug, coffee cup, the emptiness of the coffee cup goes away when you smash the coffee cup. Each of those pieces now have a different emptiness, right? If you smash that piece, the emptiness of that piece goes away, and then a whole bunch of other emptinesses start, right? Like last night, I had a baguette that was old, and I crunched it up into, what are they called? Breadcrumbs, right? And there was just like a pile of breadcrumbs, right? They were so small they were like dust, so the baguette became dust, right? So it wasn't a baguette anymore. The emptiness of the baguette was gone the moment I smashed it. So here's something for you guys to think. Here's something for y'all to think about, and we'll just pause after this. The statement, sound is a changing thing, is unchanging. Lauda's like, what? See that it's in quotes. Sound is a changing thing. I didn't say anything about the sounds that are made. I didn't say anything about changing things. But sound is a changing thing, is functioning as a fact. It's functioning as a unchanging statement. Sound is a changing thing, doesn't change over time. You have to think about it. I can see your brain's like, what? Sound is a changing thing, is an unchanging thing. The sounds that are coming out of my mouth or coming out of your translators' mouths are changing. They start and stop. But sound as a fact, as a statement, is an unchanging thing. And I can see all of your brains being like, what? It's the answer to question number 5. It's a different type of unchanging thing. It never varies. It never changes. It's a fact. It's a truth in a way. And you can meditate on that. If you want a good meditation, meditate on this. How is this an unchanging thing? And use this chart. The words that I'm saying, sound is a changing thing. Those words are a changing thing. But the statement itself is unchanging. Yay. I'll leave you guys there. Nice cliffhanger, right? That's an awesome cliffhanger. Cool. All right. We made it through 3 classes. You made it through this class, the first, well, all of it, but really that the first 40 hour and 15 minutes ish of that class, that can completely change your life. And if you think about it and spend time with it and meditate on it and think about it in terms of 4 steps, think about the seeds that you're planting. Like when you're doing 4 steps, what are you doing? Let's all go to the nursing home and take care of lonely people. What are you taking care of? Who are you taking care of? And you're not taking care of nothing. Excuse me. You're not, how do I make sure I did that right? It's not as though nothing is not, shit, hold on. It's not as though nothing is there. Just because you have a mental image of something has nothing to do with the fact that there is something there. Okay. Right. Lonely people, like Angelica, you said that very, very well. I'm going to say it there, then we're going to leave. Lonely people are both changing things and unchanging things. And if you can gather why that is true, you can push yourself into Chu Choke and sing emptiness directly. Yay. Okay. We got 3 of 10 classes done. I want all of you to keep coming to this. Like, if we can get 100 people in each of these classes, that's 100 people that have the capacity to change so many people and change the world. If you are upset with the world, you need to come to these classes. If there's something in this world you don't like, you need to be here, because you can make it into something that's beautiful. Thank you all for coming. Very much appreciate each and every one of you. Let's see, we got, yeah, so good to see all of you. And yeah, I hope you all have a really good day. We're going to take a half-hour break, come back for Lamrim translation. Now we're going to learn how to develop the meditation skills to be able to see the mental images for what they really are. Cool. Thank you very much. And say goodbye to everyone. And we'll see you in about 25 minutes.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
До свидания, спасибо большое.
Gracias,
Thank
nuestro
you.
team. Gracias. Please
До
stay forever.
свидания.
Thank you,
Dankeschön.
La. We love you.
I love you
До
too.
свидания. Благодарю, дорогой Тим.
Servus.
Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher team.
谢谢老师。
Thank you, teacher. Biết ơn em ái.